At 8:17 p.m., under the blinding white lights of Saint Orison Medical Center's charity gala, Nurse Celeste Ward slapped away the hand of the most feared man in Halcyon Bay. The sound was small, barely more than skin striking skin. But the room went silent, as if someone had fired a gun. Crystal chandeliers trembled above 200 donors in black tuxedos and silk gowns. Champagne stopped halfway to painted lips. A violinist froze mid-note. Doctors, city officials, police commanders, and wealthy philanthropists all turned toward the center of the ballroom, where Celeste stood in her navy nurse dress uniform, with her pulse hammering in her throat and a hospital badge clipped over her heart. Across from her stood Dante Valen, the man the city whispered about but never named too loudly, the man whose black SUVs could block an avenue without anyone daring to honk, the man prosecutors had spent 10 years trying to cage, and 10 years failing to touch. Tall, controlled, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, Dante Valen did not flinch when Celeste rejected him in front of everyone. His dark eyes stayed on her face with a stillness that was worse than anger. He looked like a man who could order a building erased and still remember the exact shape of a woman's trembling mouth. His hand remained suspended between them for one unbearable second. Not an invitation anymore. A warning. Behind him, 2 of his men shifted. One reached toward his coat, but Dante lifted one finger without looking away from Celeste, and the man stopped immediately. That frightened her more than the weapon. The obedience. The silence. The power. Celeste's breath shook, but she forced herself not to step back. "You don't get to walk into my hospital," she said, her voice low but carrying through the dead quiet ballroom. "Write a check big enough to buy everyone's conscience, and then tell me I belong under your protection." A ripple went through the crowd. Dante's expression did not change. Only his eyes moved, slowly, down to the little silver pendant at her throat. A cracked wing angel. Celeste saw him notice it, and a cold unease slid beneath her skin. She closed her fingers around the pendant instinctively. Dante's jaw tightened. "You should have taken my hand," he said. Gasps. Not loud, not theatrical. Just small human sounds from people who understood threats when rich men disguised them as concern. Celeste leaned closer, close enough to smell rain on his coat and expensive smoke in the fabric. "And you should have stayed away from me." For the first time, something flickered in Dante Valen's eyes. Pain. Gone so quickly she almost imagined it. Then he lowered his hand. The city mayor laughed nervously into the silence, trying to rescue the evening. Well, emotions do run high in medicine, don't they? No one laughed with him. Dante turned his head slightly toward the mayor, and the mayor's smile died. Celeste's supervisor, Dr. Adrian Keene, rushed forward, face pale. "Nurse Ward, perhaps you should step outside." "No," Dante said softly. Everyone stopped. He looked at Celeste again. "If she leaves this room alone, she dies before midnight." Celeste's blood chilled. A woman dropped a glass somewhere behind her. It shattered across marble. Dr. Keene stiffened. "Mr. Valen, this is a hospital event. You can't threaten our staff." Dante did not spare him a glance. "I'm not threatening her." His gaze remained on Celeste. "I'm telling her what's already in motion." Celeste wanted to laugh, wanted to call him insane, wanted to tell the crowd that this was exactly what men like him did. They created fear, then offered themselves as the cure. But then her phone vibrated in her clutch. Once, twice, 3 times. Only one person would call her repeatedly during a gala shift, the pediatric ICU. She pulled it out with shaking fingers. The message on the screen was from an unknown number. "Don't go back to the East Wing." Below it was a photo taken moments ago. Celeste standing in the ballroom, Dante in front of her. And behind them, on the upper balcony, a man in a waiter's white jacket aiming a black pistol directly at the back of her head. Her breath vanished. The chandelier lights reflected off the phone screen as her hands went numb. Dante moved before she understood what was happening. One moment he was 3 feet away. The next his arm locked around her waist and dragged her hard against his chest. The first gunshot cracked through the ballroom. The mirror behind Celeste exploded. Screams tore through the gala. Dante turned with her in his arms, shielding her body with his own as glass rained over his black suit like ice. His men surged into motion. Guests dove under tables. The violinists scattered. The mayor crawled behind a floral arrangement. Another shot punched through a champagne tower, sending crystal and gold liquid across the floor. Celeste's cheek pressed against Dante's chest. His heartbeat was terrifyingly steady. "Stay down," he ordered. "I'm not yours to order. You are tonight." His voice held no romance. Only certainty. He shoved her behind a marble pillar as a third shot shattered the bronze plaque honoring the hospital's donors. Celeste hit the floor on her knees, ears ringing, palms burning against broken glass. She looked up and saw Dante walking into the chaos instead of away from it. Not running. Walking. As if violence was a room he had entered many times and knew where all the exits were. The gunman on the balcony fired again. Dante's shoulder jerked. Blood darkened his sleeve. He didn't stop. Celeste's training overrode fear. "Dante." He looked back at the sound of his name on her mouth. It was the wrong thing to do. The gunman adjusted his aim. Celeste saw it before anyone else did. She grabbed a fallen silver serving tray and threw it with everything she had. It struck the gunman's wrist as the shot fired. The bullet tore through the chandelier chain instead of Dante's skull. The massive chandelier groaned overhead, crystals shaking violently. Dante's eyes locked onto hers. Hua. Shock. Then something darker. Possession, maybe. Or awe. The chandelier dropped. People screamed as 1,000 pounds of glass and gold crashed down between Dante and the gunman, exploding across the ballroom floor in a storm of light. Emergency sprinklers burst overhead. Cold water poured over gowns, tuxedos, blood, champagne, broken crystal. The gala dissolved into panic. Celeste crawled toward Dante despite every instinct telling her to run away from him, not toward him. He stood beneath the artificial rain, one hand pressed to his bleeding shoulder, staring up at the balcony where the gunman had disappeared into the smoke. "You're hit," she said. "I've been hit before. Sit down." "No. Sit down, or I'll let you bleed on your expensive shoes." For one breath, he looked almost amused. Then his gaze dropped to the blood on her palms. The amusement vanished. He caught her wrist. The touch was firm but not painful. His thumb brushed the glass cuts on her skin, and the brutal man the whole city feared stared at 3 small lines of blood as if they offended him personally. "Who sent you that photo?" he asked. "I don't know. Show me." "No." His eyes lifted. The ballroom was chaos around them. Police sirens wailed outside. Security dragged donors toward exits. Dr. Keene shouted orders. Rain hammered the tall windows beyond the balcony doors. Yet in that moment, Celeste felt as if the world had narrowed to the space between Dante's hand and her wrist. "You're still refusing me," he said. "I'm refusing to become one of your possessions." His grip loosened immediately. Something changed in his face. Note softness. Restraint. "I don't keep possessions, Celeste. You keep cities." His mouth tightened. Before he could answer, every light in the ballroom flickered. Once. Twice. Then steadied. People froze. The hospital backup generators hummed somewhere beneath the floor. Dante looked up. Celeste followed his gaze. Outside the ballroom's rain-streaked windows, Halcyon Bay glittered in the distance. Towers of blue glass, red traffic lights, apartment windows, bridges, harbor cranes, billboards, the glowing arteries of a city that never slept. For one brief second, all of it shone. Then the entire city went black. Not block by block. Not neighborhood by neighborhood. All at once. The skyline vanished. The bridges disappeared. The harbor died. Every tower, every street, every light across Halcyon Bay blinked out as if a giant hand had closed over the city. Inside Saint Orison, the emergency lights snapped on in a cold red glow. Somewhere below, an alarm began to scream. Dante's face hardened. Celeste whispered, "What did you do?" He looked at her, and for the first time that night, the feared king of Halcyon Bay looked truly afraid. "Not me," he said. Then the hospital monitors started failing. The pediatric ICU was on the 9th floor. Celeste Ward. Dante cursed behind her, but she didn't stop. Her heels slipped across wet marble, her cut palms stung. Her lungs burned as she pushed through panicked guests, past security, past a bleeding councilman, past doctor. Keene shouting her name like she was a disobedient child instead of a nurse trying to save patients. The elevators were dead. Of course they were. She hit the stairwell door shoulder first and climbed. Red emergency lights painted the concrete walls. Sirens pulsed through the stairwell. Somewhere above, a child was crying. Somewhere below, men shouted in Italian. Footsteps thundered behind her. "Dante." She didn't look back. By the 6th floor, her calves screamed. By the 8th, she tasted blood in her throat. By the 9th, she shoved through the door into controlled disaster. The pediatric ICU was supposed to be a place of soft voices, filtered air, gentle machines, and quiet miracles. Now it was red-lit chaos. Nurses moved between beds with flashlights clenched in their teeth. Parents cried in corners. Portable monitors beeped weakly. The backup power was unstable, surging in waves. Ventilators clicked, stopped, restarted. A tiny girl in bed 9 began to desaturate as her mother screamed. Celeste moved, not as a woman afraid of mafia men, not as a woman humiliated in a ballroom. As a nurse. Manual bagger now, she ordered. Nia, check oxygen lines. Tom, get portable batteries from the crash cart. Mrs. Bell, look at me, not the monitor. Your daughter can still breathe. We're helping her. Her voice cut through panic because it had to. She took over bed 9, sealed the mask over the child's face, and began squeezing the ambu bag in a steady rhythm. In, out, in, out. The child's lips were blue. Come on, Sophie, Celeste whispered. Stay with me, sweetheart. Behind her, the stairwell door opened. Dante entered with 6 men in black suits. Every parent stiffened. Every nurse looked up. Celeste didn't. Get out, she said. Dante ignored her and looked around the ICU with deadly precision. Where's your generator room? Basement level 2. Nia answered before Celeste could stop her. Celeste shot her a look. Nia mouthed. I'm sorry. Dante turned to one of his men. Take 2 teams. Secure the generator. No visible weapons in front of patients. His men moved instantly. Celeste squeezed the bag again. You don't secure a hospital. Someone already has. That made her look at him. Dante stood in red emergency light, rainwater dripping from his hair, blood spreading down one sleeve, calm and terrible. He did not belong in a children's ICU. He belonged in back rooms, black cars, courtrooms where witnesses forgot their names. Yet he looked at the children connected to dying machines, and something in his eyes went cold enough to break bone. Your backup power is being strangled from inside the hospital, he said. That's impossible. No, it's expensive. Celeste swallowed. The child's oxygen level rose from 72 to 81. She kept bagging. Dante stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. The shooter wasn't aiming at me. I know. He was aiming at you. I know. Then stop fighting me. Her laugh came out broken. You think fear makes you right? No, he said. Experience does. The ICU lights flickered again. A ventilator alarm screamed. 2 beds down. A teenage boy with post-op complications seized. Celeste shoved the ambu bag to Nia. Keep rhythm. Don't stop unless she fights you. She ran to the boy. Dante moved with her. Don't follow me. Impossible. Dante. You saved my life in that ballroom. His voice was low, almost angry. I will not fail to save yours because you hate my name. I don't hate your name. You hate what it means. She reached the seizing boy and helped turn him safely, calling for medication, checking his airway, barking orders through fear. Dante stood 2 steps behind her, silent, watching the ICU doors, the windows, the shadows. When Dr. Keene arrived breathless from the stairs, his face flushed, his hair disheveled, Dante's body shifted slightly between him and Celeste. Celeste noticed. So did Keene. What the hell is he doing here? Keene snapped. Helping, Celeste said, hating that it was true. He is a criminal. Dante's eyes stayed on him. And yet I'm not the one who let a gunman into your fundraiser. Dr. Keene paled. Just a little. Too little for anyone else to see. Celeste saw it. Her hands paused for half a second. Dante saw her see it. The boy's seizure eased. Celeste forced herself back into motion, checking vitals, adjusting the pillow, comforting the boy's father. But her mind had tilted. Keene knew something. The realization was small and sharp, like glass under skin. A security guard burst into the ICU. We have a problem. The East Wing doors are locked from the system. Staff badges aren't working. Dispatch is overloaded. Police can't get through downtown. Traffic lights are out citywide. How citywide? Celeste asked. All of it. The guard looked at Dante and swallowed. Every district. A parent began sobbing. Someone prayed. Thunder rolled over the dark city outside. Celeste looked through the rain-streaked window. Halcyon Bay was gone. Only the hospital remained dimly alive, glowing red like a wound in the black. Then every phone in the ICU buzzed at once. A mass emergency alert. Celeste opened hers. Unknown infrastructure failure. Remain inside. Avoid roadways, hospitals, and emergency services under critical load. Below it, another message arrived from the unknown number. He can't save you from what he started. Attached was a video. Celeste's hand shook as she pressed play. The footage was old, grainy, from a hospital security camera dated 15 years ago. A younger Dante Valen stood in a hallway outside an emergency room, blood on his white shirt, his face wild in a way Celeste had never imagined. Beside him was a woman on a stretcher. Dark hair, pale face, a cracked wing angel pendant around her neck. Celeste stopped breathing. Her mother, her dead mother. Dante reached for the stretcher in the footage, but a man blocked him. Celeste recognized the man immediately. Dr. Adrian Keene. Younger, thinner, but unmistakable. The video cut to black. The unknown number sent one final line. Ask him why your mother died. The ICU sounds faded. The alarms, the rain, the crying. Everything narrowed to the pendant at Celeste's throat and the man standing beside her. Dante saw the screen. For the first time since she'd met him, he lost his composure. His face went ashen. Celeste looked up at him. "My mother?" she whispered. Dante said nothing. That silence destroyed something in her. "You knew her?" His jaw flexed. "Celeste, did you know my mother?" "Yes." The word landed between them like a body. Celeste stepped back. The ICU tilted. For 15 years, her mother's death had been a closed door. A car accident after a late hospital shift. A drunk driver never found. A file that went missing. A funeral paid for by an anonymous donor Celeste had hated because grief had needed somewhere to go. Now Dante Valen stood in front of her, bleeding in her hospital, watching her with the face of a man who had been waiting years for punishment. "What happened to her?" Celeste asked. Dante looked toward the ICU windows where the dead city pressed against the glass. "Not here." She slapped him. This time it was not quiet. Every nurse looked over. Dante accepted it without moving. "What happened to my mother?" Celeste demanded. His eyes burned. "I tried to save her." "From who?" Before he could answer, gunfire erupted from the hallway. The ICU exploded into screams. Dante shoved Celeste down behind the nurse's station as bullets tore through the glass doors. Monitors shattered. Parents threw themselves over children. Nurses ducked behind beds. Dante's men returned fire from the hallway entrance, but he shouted something in Italian, furious and sharp. "No guns near the beds." One of his men dragged a shooter down barehanded. Another slammed the door shut and held it as bullets pounded through the frame. Celeste crawled toward a crying little girl whose IV pole had fallen. Dante grabbed her arm. "Stay down. She's bleeding." "You're bleeding." "She's 8. His grip released. Not because he wanted to. Because he understood. Celeste crawled under flying sparks, reached the girl, and pressed gauze against a cut on her forehead. Dante moved above her, using his body as a shield. A bullet struck the metal cabinet behind him. Another tore through the wall. He did not move away from Celeste. The hallway lights died completely. The ICU dropped into darkness. For one breath there was only rain, screaming, and the red blink of failing machines. Then emergency flashlights clicked on. Dante's face appeared inches above hers, carved in shadow. "Listen to me," he said. "They're not here for me anymore." Celeste clutched the child against her side. "Then who? You? Why?" His eyes lowered again to the pendant. "Because your mother didn't die with what they wanted." The answer came from behind them. Dr. Keene stood near the medication room with a pistol in his hand. For a moment Celeste could not make sense of the image. Dr. Keene, who had signed her recommendation letters. Dr. Keene, who had brought coffee on double shifts. Dr. Keene. Keene, who had attended her mother's memorial every year and placed white lilies beside the grave. Dr. Keene, holding a gun in a pediatric ICU. "Step away from her, Valen," he said. The room froze. Dante slowly turned. His face became empty. That was somehow more terrifying than rage. Celeste rose, still holding the little girl behind her. "Dr. Keene?" Keene's eyes flicked to her, almost sad. "I didn't want it to happen this way." "What way?" she whispered. "The city is collapsing. People are dying. And all because your mother hid something she never should have touched." Dante stepped forward. Keene lifted the gun toward a child's bed. Dante stopped instantly. Celeste felt horror tear through her ribs. "Don't," she said. Keen's hand shook, but not enough. "I took care of you, Celeste. I protected you from the truth. You lied to me. I spared you." Dante's voice was quiet. "You sold her mother." Keen flinched. Celeste stared at him. "No," she whispered. Dante did not look away from Keen. 15 years ago, Leora Ward discovered that Saint Orison was being used to launder emergency infrastructure contracts through dead patients and fake charity grants. The grid, the hospital backups, the police dispatch network, all of it. She found names. Keen's mouth tightened. Celeste could barely breathe. "My mother was a nurse." "She was an auditor before she became a nurse," Dante said. "She was smarter than all of us." "Us." The word cut through Celeste. Keen smiled bitterly. "And she made the mistake of trusting a Valen." Celeste turned to Dante. His face had gone still again, but his eyes were full of something old and bleeding. "I loved her," he said. The ICU seemed to disappear beneath Celeste's feet. "Not wanted. Not new. Love. My mother?" Her voice broke. Dante looked at her then. Really looked. "Yes." A sound escaped Celeste before she could stop it. Something between grief and disbelief. Keen laughed softly. "He didn't tell you that part at the gala, did he? Didn't tell you he was the reason she died?" Dante's eyes cut back to him. "I was 19, Dante said. My father used her name on a shipment ledger. She found out. She came to me. I tried to get her out." "You brought danger to her door," Keen hissed. "You opened the door." Keen's face twisted. The gun trembled. Celeste's heart slammed against her ribs. The little girl clung to her scrub skirt, crying silently. "Why kill her now?" Celeste asked, though the answer was forming in pieces she did not want. Keen looked at her pendant. "Because she gave you the last key." Celeste's hand went to the cracked wing angel. The pendant was warm from her skin. Dante's voice sharpened. "Celeste, don't touch it." Too late. Her thumb pressed along a crack in the wing. Something clicked. The pendant opened. Inside was not a photo, not a prayer. A microchip, sealed in old resin, no bigger than a fingernail. For 15 years, she had worn her mother's secret over her heart. Keen's eyes filled with hunger. "There it is," he whispered. Then the hospital generator died. Everything went black. For 3 seconds, the world became sound. Screams. A gunshot. Glass breaking. Dante's arm around Celeste. The child ripped from her side by another nurse. Keen shouting. A body hitting the floor. Then Celeste was moving, not by choice, Dante dragging her through the darkness as chaos erupted behind them. His wounded shoulder bled against her dress, his hand locked around her wrist. She stumbled over fallen equipment, slipped in water from the sprinklers, hit the wall, kept going. "Let me go," she shouted. "No. My patients. My men have them. You don't know that. I know my men." They burst into the service corridor as emergency floor lights pulsed weakly along the baseboards. Behind them, the ICU door slammed. Dante shoved a metal cart under the handle and pulled Celeste into an alcove. She tore away from him. "You loved my mother?" His chest rose and fell hard. "Yes. And you didn't tell me? How could I? By opening your mouth." His face hardened. "I watched her die because she trusted me. I have lived 15 years knowing that the daughter she left behind would have every right to hate me. I do hate you." The lie came fast. Too fast. Dante absorbed it. But his eyes dropped to her shaking hands, the pendant open in her palm, the microchip glinting in red emergency light. "No," he said quietly. "You hate that part of you doesn't." Celeste stepped back, as if he had touched something naked. "Don't. Celeste. No. You don't get to read me like a confession. You don't get to protect me, lie to me, bleed for me, and then decide what I feel." His eyes darkened. "I never decided what you feel. You decided everything else." A crash sounded down the corridor. Voices, not hospital staff. Dante grabbed her hand again. This time, she didn't pull away fast enough. He led her through a side door marked "Authorized Personal Only" and down a narrow service stairwell smelling of bleach, dust, and old heat. The hospital groaned around them. Without power, Saint Orison felt less like a place of healing and more like a concrete body trying not to die. Celeste heard distant alarms fading one by one. Every dying beep felt like a patient slipping away. Tears burned her eyes. Dante must have heard the change in her breathing. He stopped on a landing. Look at me. No. Celeste. She turned on him. Children are upstairs attached to machines that need power. I know. Then why are we running away? Because the chip around your neck may be the only way to turn the city back on. She went still. Dante's voice was rough. Your mother didn't just hide names. She hid access, proof, kill codes, routing maps, everything required to expose the people who built this failure into the city. Failure? Not a failure. His eyes burned in the dark. A hostage mechanism. The words moved through her slowly. The blackout was intentional. Yes. By Keen? Keen is a knife. Someone else is the hand. Who? Dante hesitated. And in that hesitation, she knew. Your family, she whispered. My father's old council, he said. Men who believe Halcyon Bay belongs to them. Judges, contractors, police, hospital donors. The same men in that ballroom tonight. Celeste thought of the chandelier. The gowns. The champagne. The polite smiles. The city's monsters had been clapping for charity. Why tonight, she asked. Dante's Chaza held hers. Because I announced my donation publicly. You gave money to the hospital. No. I bought the debt attached to its infrastructure contracts. Celeste stared. So you walked into the gala and publicly cornered them. Yes. And then you offered me protection in front of everyone. His silence answered. She laughed once, hollow and disbelieving. You used me. No. You knew they'd come for me. I suspected. You suspected? His control fractured. I knew the moment I saw your pendant. The stairwell seemed to shrink. You'd seen it before, Celeste said. Your mother wore it the night she died. A memory rose in Celeste's mind. Being 7 years old, half asleep on a worn sofa, her mother kneeling before her, fastening the angel around her neck with trembling fingers. Keep this close, Starling. That was what she had called her. Starling. Small bird. Survives winter. Finds its way home. Celeste pressed a fist against her mouth. Dante looked away as if her grief hurt him to witness. That almost broke her more than the truth. Don't look guilty, she whispered. It doesn't suit you. He looked back. I am guilty. The honesty was quiet. Brutal. No defense. No performance. For one terrible second, Celeste wanted to step into him. Wanted to let his arms close around the grief cracking her open. Wanted the one man connected to her mother's last night to explain everything while holding her together. That want frightened her more than the gunfire. A door slammed above them. Dante pulled a small black phone from his pocket and pressed one button. Basement access compromised, he said. We're going through the morgue corridor. Bring the car to the west loading tunnel. Quietly. A pause. His eyes flicked to Celeste. No, she's alive. Another pause. His jaw tightened. Then keep the children breathing, Mateo, or I'll bury you myself. He ended the call. Celeste stared at him. You told your men to help the ICU? I told them to do whatever you would do if you had more hands. Her anger stumbled. Dante opened the stairwell door. Cold air hit them. They emerged into the lower hospital corridor, where the lights were dead and the walls sweated darkness. Celeste knew this level only from night shifts when she had escorted families to the morgue. Down here, the hospital lost its softness. Pipes ran exposed along ceilings. The floor smelled of antiseptic and old concrete. Emergency signs glowed faintly above locked doors. Dante moved ahead of her, one hand near his coat, body angled to shield her from every intersection. His bleeding had worsened. She could see the dark line running down his wrist. You need stitches, she said. You're angry at me. I can be angry and medically correct. Efficient. Don't compliment me. It wasn't a compliment. It was admiration. She hated the warmth that flickered through her chest. They reached the morgue corridor. Halfway down, a flashlight beam swept across the floor. Dante pushed Celeste behind him. 3 men stepped from the shadows wearing hospital maintenance uniforms. Not maintenance. Their boots were wrong. Their hands were wrong. Their eyes went immediately to Celeste's throat. Dantusaihu. It was the most chilling sound Celeste had ever heard. Tired. Almost disappointed. You came into a hospital, he said. One of the men smiled. Orders. Dante moved. Celeste had seen violence before. Emergency rooms were full of it. Drunk men, desperate men, broken men, terrified men. But Dante's violence was different. It was silent, precise, almost elegant in its cruelty. He disarmed the first man before Celeste saw the blade. Broke the second man's wrist against the wall. used the third man's momentum to drive him face first into a steel door. It lasted less than 10 seconds. Then he stood over them, breathing slightly harder, blood dripping from his sleeve. Celeste stared at him. He looked back, and something like shame crossed his face. "You shouldn't see this. I work nights in an ER. Not this." "No," she said softly. "Not this." A wounded man groaned at Dante's feet. His hand twitched toward a radio. Dante stepped on it. The crack echoed. Then the hospital intercom came alive with static. A voice filled the dark corridor. "Celeste Ward." Her blood froze. "Keen." "Celeste, I know you can hear me. Mr. Valen is lying to you. He doesn't want justice for your mother. He wants control of the chip. Give it to me, and I can restore power to the hospital." Dante's face hardened. The intercom crackled. "Children are dying upstairs, Celeste." Her breath caught. Dante turned to her immediately. "He's using them. That doesn't mean he's lying. He can't restore power. Not without the central relay." "How do you know?" "Because I've been hunting this system for 7 years." "Why?" He looked at her. "Because your mother died asking me to." The intercom popped again. "Ask Dante about the promise," Keen said. "Ask him what Leora begged him to protect. It wasn't the city." Celeste's heart pounded. Dante's eyes closed briefly. "What promise?" she whispered. The corridor seemed to hold its breath. Dante opened his eyes. "You?" Celeste felt the word land inside her. Not softly, deeply. "She asked you to protect me?" "She made me swear." Celeste's lips parted. "And you did that by staying away?" His voice dropped. "I was my father's son. If I came near you, you would have become a target before you turned 8, but I became one anyway." "Yes." The pain in his voice was restrained, but it was real enough to reach her. Keen's voice returned, sharper now. "Touching story. Did he tell you the rest?" "Leora begged him to leave the Valen family. He promised her he would. And then, the night she died, he chose power." Celeste looked at Dante. He did not deny it. The silence was worse than confession. "I was supposed to meet her at the train station," Dante said. "She had evidence. You were asleep in her car. We were leaving the city." Celeste stopped breathing. "I never knew. You were too young. What happened?" "My father found out. He gave me a choice in front of his council. Leave with her and they kill everyone who helped us. Stay, and he said he'd let her go." Celeste's eyes filled. "You believed him?" "I was 19, Dante said, voice raw. "And stupid enough to think monsters kept bargains with their sons." The corridor blurred. "She died because you stayed." "Yes." The answer was instant. No excuse. No escape. Celeste turned away from him, one hand pressed over the pendant. All her life, her mother's death had been an empty room. Now it was overcrowded with ghosts. Dante at 19, her mother waiting at a station, a little girl asleep in a car, men in suits deciding who lived. "I should hate you," she said. "Yes. I want to. I know. Stop agreeing with me. I can't lie to you anymore." The intercom hissed. Keen's voice lowered. "Celeste, the ICU battery reserves will fail in 26 minutes. Come to the surgical theater. Bring the chip. Come alone." The intercom died. Celeste looked at Dante. He was already shaking his head. "No. My patience. No." He said 26 minutes. "He wants you cornered. He has the hospital. He has access to the hospital, not the relay." "Then where is the relay?" Dante hesitated. Celeste's eyes narrowed. "Dante, under Saint Orison." "What?" "The hospital was built over the old municipal power exchange. Half the city's emergency routing still runs through tunnels beneath this building." Celeste stared at him. Of course. Of course the hospital had been built over something buried. Of course the city's clean white walls hid old corruption beneath them. "Can the chip turn power back on? If we reach the relay, and if the files your mother hid still work?" "If?" "It's 15-year-old evidence buried inside a necklace during a citywide attack." Comforting. His giornata dollar. His mouth curved slightly despite the blood and darkness. Then he swayed. "Just a little." Celeste caught it. "You're losing too much blood." "I'm fine." "You're pale. You're frightened." "I'm a nurse. I can multitask." He leaned one shoulder against the wall, and for the first time Celeste saw the cost. The bullet had torn deeper than he admitted. His shirt clung darkly beneath his jacket. Sweat beaded along his temple. She stepped closer despite herself. "Take off your jacket." His eyes lifted. This is a strange time to change your mind. Don't flirt while hemorrhaging. I wasn't flirting. You absolutely were. Then I'm worse off than I thought. The absurdity of it cracked through the terror. Celeste almost laughed, and that almost laugh hurt. She pulled him into a supply room and found bandages by flashlight. The room smelled of cardboard, plastic tubing, and sterile gauze. Outside, distant shouts echoed through the lower level. She shut the door as softly as she could. Dante sat on a metal stool only after she pushed him. He removed his jacket, then his shirt. Celeste had seen bodies before. Hundreds. Ill bodies, injured bodies, dying bodies. But Dante's body told a history violence had written carefully. Old scars along ribs, a healed blade mark near his collarbone, faded burns over one shoulder, fresh blood spilling from a bullet wound high in his arm. He watched her watching. Disappointed? He asked. No. Her voice came out too soft. His eyes changed. The supply room shrank. Celeste cleaned the wound with hands steadier than her breathing. Dante barely reacted. His jaw tightened once when she packed gauze against the torn flesh, but he made no sound. Did you love her very much? Celeste asked. Dante looked down at her. The flashlight between them made shadows of his cheekbones. Yes. The simplicity undid her. She sang when she was nervous, Celeste whispered. Old songs, off-key. She burned toast every morning. She used to draw stars on my wrist before night shifts and tell me they would keep me brave. Dante closed his eyes. She did that to me once. Celeste's hand stopped. What? The first time I told her I wanted out of my father's world, I was shaking. He opened his eyes, and in them she saw not the feared man, but a 19-year-old boy in a white shirt with blood on it, dreaming of a life he never got. She drew a star on my wrist with a blue pen and told me bravery was not a clean thing. It was just choosing the right fear. Celeste's throat tightened until she could barely speak. That sounds like her. I know. For a moment, the anger between them loosened into shared grief. Then his hand lifted. Slowly, giving her time to move away. He touched the pendant at her throat with 2 fingers, not possessive now, but reverent. She would be furious with me, he said. Yes, and proud of you. Celeste looked up. The air between them changed. Not healed, not forgiven, but altered. His fingers hovered near her collarbone. Her hands rested against his bare shoulder. The city was black. Killers hunted them. Children waited for power. Her mother's ghost stood between them. And still, for one insane second, Celeste wanted him. Not safely. Not wisely. Dangerously. Like stepping to the edge of a burning roof because someone below had opened their arms. Dante saw it. His voice roughened. Don't look at me that way unless you mean it. Celeste swallowed. I don't know what I mean. Then I won't move. That restraint hurt worse than if he had touched her, because she had expected him to take. Instead, he waited. A crash outside shattered the moment. Dante stood too quickly, nearly falling. Celeste grabbed his arm. Iazi. No chimi. She tied the bandage tight, shoved his shirt back at him, and kept her hand against his chest 1 second longer than necessary. He noticed. Neither of them spoke. They left the supply room and descended through an old maintenance hatch Dante opened with a key hidden inside his ring. Celeste didn't ask why he had a key to her hospital's basement tunnels. She was no longer sure she wanted answers in the order they arrived. Below Saint Orison, the air turned colder. The tunnel was narrow, brick-walled, wet with condensation. Old electrical conduits lined the ceiling like black veins. Somewhere far below, water dripped steadily. Dante's phone flashlight cut a small white path ahead. Celeste followed close enough to feel heat from his body, the microchip hidden now inside her closed fist. Why did you donate tonight, she asked. To force the council to move. You risked my life to flush them out. I thought I could control the room. Men like you always do. He glanced back. Yes, at least you admit it. I've controlled everything since I was 19 because the one night I didn't, your mother died. Celeste had no answer. They walked in silence until the tunnel widened into an old underground platform. Rusted rails vanished into darkness. A faded sign read, Halcyon, Municipal Exchange, 1928. Celeste stared at it. The city beneath the city. Dante led her across the platform toward a steel door with a biometric lock that should not have worked during a blackout. But it glowed green. Someone is feeding power to this, Celeste said. Yes. Keen? Or the hand above him? Dante pressed his thumb to the pad. The lock rejected him. A red light flashed. Access denied. Dante frowned. Problème? Celeste asked. My access was removed. From a secret power relay under my hospital. Shocking. He gave her a look. Despite everything, she felt the tiniest spark of satisfaction. Then the lock screen changed. Place authorized key. Celeste looked at the microchip in her palm. Her mother's last secret. Dante's eyes met hers. It has to be your choice, he said. She almost laughed. Now you care about choice? Yes. The word was quiet. Heavy. Celeste stared at the steel door. Behind it might be the power to save patients. Or a trap. Or the truth that would destroy every lie her life had been built around. She pressed the chip into the slot. The door unlocked. The room beyond was enormous. Not a simple relay station. A cathedral of machines. Old brass panels and modern servers rose together beneath arched concrete ceilings. Emergency lights glowed along walkways. Thick cables plunged into the floor. Screens flickered with maps of Halcyon Bay, every district pulsing red. Hospitals, police dispatch, bridges, water treatment, traffic. The city's nervous system laid bare. And in the center of it stood a woman in a white suit. Silver-haired, elegant, calm. Celeste recognized her from the gala. Evelyn Cross, chairwoman of the hospital foundation. Dante stopped. The air changed around him. Evelyn, he said. She smiled as if greeting him at dinner. Dante, I wondered if grief would make you sentimental enough to bring her. Celeste's stomach turned. Evelyn's gaze moved to her. My God, she said softly, you look like Leora. Celeste hated the intimacy in her voice. Dante stepped in front of her. Evelyn's smile sharpened. Still playing protector? How exhausting. You killed the grid, Dante said. I revealed ownership. Children are dying upstairs. Children die every day in cities run by cowards. Celeste's anger ignited. She stepped around Dante. They are not leverage. Evelyn looked amused. Everyone is leverage, Nurse Ward. That is the first truth your mother refused to learn. My mother was better than you. Yes, Evelyn said. That was her weakness. Dante moved forward. Guns clicked. Men emerged along the upper walkways, weapons aimed down. Celeste froze. Dante did not. He looked only at Evelyn. You built a kill switch into emergency infrastructure. My husband built it. Your father funded it. Adrian maintained it. I improved it. You blacked out an entire city to recover a chip. To recover evidence. To erase evidence. To remind the city that men like you do not get to become saviors simply because they grow tired of being monsters. Dante's face hardened. Evelyn's gaze turned colder. You thought buying hospital debt made you noble? You thought protecting one nurse balanced 15 years of blood? Celeste felt Dante's pain like a shift in the room. Evelyn saw it too. Her smile widened. Ah. You didn't tell her how many people died while you consolidated power, did you? How many families paid for your grief? Celeste looked at Dante. He did not defend himself. That was the terrible thing about him. His sign did not surprise him. He carried them like names carved into bone. I can answer for what I've done, he said, after the city has power. How heroic. Evelyn gestured to a screen. The map zoomed in on Saint Orison's pediatric ICU. Battery estimates appeared in red. 19 minutes. Celeste's heart stopped. You can restore the hospital, Celeste said. Evelyn looked at her gently, almost kindly. Yes. Then do it. Give me the chip. Dante said no. Celeste turned to him. Dante. His eyes remained on Evelyn. She'll wipe it, and if I don't, children die. If you do, more people die later. Celeste felt torn in half. This was the cruelty of men and women who built systems in the dark. They made every moral choice cost blood. Evelyn stepped closer. Your mother chose the same way, she said to Celeste. She had evidence. She could have exposed us. Instead, she tried to save Dante Valen. Love made her stupid. Dante's voice went deadly. Careful. Evelyn ignored him. She came to me, you know. Begged for safe passage. Begged me not to punish a little girl for her mother's conscience. Evelyn tilted her head. She cried very beautifully. Celeste's vision blurred red. Dante took one step. A gunshot cracked. The bullet struck the floor at his feet. Evelyn lifted one hand. Next one goes through the nurse. Dante stopped. His stillness was absolute. Evelyn looked pleased. There he is. The boy Leora ruined. The king brought to heel by a woman's heartbeat. Celeste realized then that Evelyn was wrong. Dante was not controlled by weakness. He was controlled by choice. For 15 years, he had built power because power had failed the woman he loved. And now, standing in the buried heart of a dying city, he was willing to be humiliated, trapped, even killed, because Celeste stood behind him breathing. That terrified her. It also steadied her. Celeste looked at the screen. 19 minutes became 18. "What does the chip do?" she asked. Dante's eyes shifted. "Celeste." "No. Tell me." Evelyn laughed. "She doesn't even know." Dante ignored her. "It contains a root authorization key and archived transaction records. In English, it can either restore emergency routing or expose everyone tied to the system. Can it do both?" Dante hesitated. Evelyn's expression changed. "There." Celeste caught it. The first crack in her confidence. "Can it do both?" Celeste repeated. Dante looked at the servers. "If someone manually bridges the old exchange while the chip uploads." "Meaning?" "Someone stays inside the relay cage during reboot." Evelyn's smile disappeared. Celeste followed Dante's gaze to a glass-walled chamber beneath the main platform. Inside it stood old switchgear, sparking faintly, surrounded by warning signs. High-voltage manual transfer. Her mouth went dry. "Someone dies," she said. "Not necessarily," Dante said. But his voice told the truth. Evelyn clapped slowly. How poetic Leora's daughter gets the same choice. Save the truth or save the man. Dante turned to Celeste. "No." She knew what he meant before he said it. He would go into that cage. He had already decided. Celeste stepped back from him. "Don't. The city needs power. Don't you dare make this noble." His eyes burned. "It isn't noble. It is suicide. It is payment." "For what, my mother? Your sins? You think dying fixes that?" "No." His voice broke slightly. "But it may keep you alive." The room fell away again. All the guns. All the machines. All the city maps bleeding red. Only Dante remained. The man she had rejected in front of everyone. The man who had lied. The man who had protected. The man who had loved her mother and somehow, impossibly, looked at Celeste not as a replacement, not as redemption, but as something that hurt him to want because he knew he did not deserve it. Celeste stepped closer. "You don't get to decide that your death is my healing." His jaw tightened. "I can't give you back what I took. You didn't take her alone. I stayed." "Yes," Celeste whispered, "and now stay again." His eyes shifted. The words hit him deeper than any bullet. Behind them, Evelyn's patience snapped. "Enough." She gestured. Two men grabbed Celeste. Dante moved like a storm, but there were too many guns. A rifle butt struck his injured shoulder. He dropped to one knee. Another man hit him across the face. Celeste screamed his name. Dante rose anyway, blood on his mouth, eyes black with murder. Evelyn lifted a small remote. The ICU timer on the screen dropped suddenly. 18 minutes became 10. Celeste went cold. "I can accelerate failure," Evelyn said. "Do not test me." Dante froze. Celeste stopped fighting. Evelyn approached her and held out one gloved hand. "The chip." Celeste looked at Dante. He shook his head once. Not fear for the evidence. Fear for what giving it up would do. Celeste thought of Sophie's blue lips, of the teenage boy seizing, of parents praying in red emergency light, of her mother fastening the pendant and whispering, "Keep this close, starling." Her mother had not hidden the truth so Celeste could protect evidence over children. But she also had not died so monsters could keep owning the city. Celeste opened her hand. Evelyn smiled. Celeste dropped the chip into her palm. Then Celeste drove her knee into Evelyn's stomach and slammed the older woman's hand down onto the active console. The chip skittered across the panel and locked into the upload port. Screens erupted blue. Authorization accepted. Dante moved in the same instant. Chaos exploded. He seized the nearest gunman and drove him into another. Celeste ducked as shots shattered the glass behind her. Evelyn screamed for someone to stop the upload. The city map flickered. Files began streaming across every monitor. Names, accounts, contracts, death certificates, hospital grants, police payments, judicial transfers. 15 years of rot blooming in cold blue light. Celeste dove behind the console as bullets tore overhead. Dante fought through 3 men with brutal efficiency, but blood loss slowed him. A man struck him from behind. Celeste grabbed a fallen metal tool and hit the attacker across the jaw. He dropped. Dante looked at her. Even now, even here, he looked stunned every time she chose to fight beside him. "Relay cage," she shouted. "No. We need both." "I said no, and I heard you." She ran. Dante roared her name. The manual relay cage was down a short metal staircase. Sparks snapped behind glass. Heat rolled out as Celeste yanked the door open. The air smelled like burning copper. Dante caught her at the entrance, gripping the frame, chest heaving. "You go in there, I go in after you," he said. "Then we both move fast." "No. Dante, listen to me. I know hospital systems. I know emergency transfer protocols. You know the grid. We need both of us." His eyes searched hers. "You're asking me to risk you. I'm asking you to trust me." That stopped him. Trust was not a language he spoke easily, but he understood what it cost her to say it. A gunshot struck the metal doorframe. Dante pulled her inside and slammed the cage door. The noise became unbearable. Electric hum, alarms, gunfire muffled by glass, the city dying above them. Celeste stood before the old manual transfer panel, reading labels half-eaten by time. Dante moved to the main breaker array, blood dripping from his hand to the metal floor. "Tell me what to do," she said. "Switch A to emergency bypass." She pulled the lever. Sparks exploded. She screamed, jerking back. Dante caught her with his uninjured arm. "Burned?" "No, keep going." His eyes flicked to her hand. "Celeste, keep going." On the screen outside the cage, the upload reached 32%. The ICU timer showed 6 minutes. Dante turned back to the panel. "Breaker 7, then 9, not 8. Celeste yanked 7, then 9. The floor vibrated. Outside, Evelyn screamed something Celeste couldn't hear. Her men fired into the reinforced glass. Cracks spiderwebbed across it. Upload 49%. City map pulsing. Dante crossed to the final transfer wheel. It was rusted, massive, old. He tried to turn it with one arm and nearly collapsed. Celeste reached him. Together. He shook his head, jaw clenched with pain. "Together," she repeated. Their hands closed over the wheel. His larger hand covered hers. Heat roared around them. They turned. The wheel resisted. Dante grunted. Celeste cried out as pain shot through her burned palm. The wheel moved an inch. Then another. The glass behind them cracked deeper. A bullet pierced through and struck the panel overhead. Sparks showered down. Dante shoved Celeste under him, taking the burn across his back. His body trapped hers against the wheel. For one heartbeat, their faces were inches apart, sweat and blood and fear between them. "Why do you keep doing that?" she whispered. "Because you keep being where bullets go." "That is not an answer." His eyes held hers. "Because when your mother died, the world ended and kept moving. When you walk into a room, it starts again." Celeste forgot the heat, forgot the city, forgot how to breathe. "That's not fair," she whispered. "No." His voice was raw. "It's true." The upload reached 70%. The ICU timer hit 3 minutes. Celeste pushed against him. "Wheel." They turned again. This time, it gave. The entire relay cage lit blue-white. Power surged through the old exchange like lightning waking underground. Outside, every monitor flashed. Emergency routing restored pending final transfer. Dante looked at the final switch. Celeste saw his face, saw the decision. "No," she said. The final switch was on the far side of an exposed current arc. Someone had to cross through it. Dante touched her face once. Barely. A brush of fingers against her cheek. "I'm sorry," he said. Then he pushed her out of the cage. The door slammed between them. Celeste hit the floor outside hard enough to knock the breath from her lungs. "No." Dante locked the cage from inside. Celeste scrambled up, pounding the glass. "Dante, open the door." He did not. Inside the cage, sparks rained around him. He staggered toward the final switch. Celeste slammed her burned palms against the glass. "Don't do this. Don't you dare." He looked back at her. Through cracked glass, smoke, blue light, and 15 years of ghosts. For once he did not look like a king. He looked like a man. "I don't know how to be forgiven," he said through the intercom speaker, voice distorted by static. "But I know how to keep a promise." Celeste shook her head, tears breaking free. I didn't forgive you yet. His mouth curved. So small. So devastating. Then live long enough to decide. He turned. Celeste screamed. Dante crossed the current. Light swallowed him. For a moment his body became a silhouette inside white fire. The entire relay chamber shook. Servers blew out. Monitors flashed. The city map turned from red to gold, district by district, like dawn spreading beneath glass. Saint Orison Medical Center. Restored. Halcyon Bay Children's Hospital. Restored. Emergency dispatch. Restored. Bridges. Water. Traffic. Hospitals. One by one, the dead city began to breathe. Above them, somewhere far beyond concrete and rain, Halcyon Bay's lights returned. But Dante collapsed inside the relay cage. Celeste screamed his name so hard her throat tore. Evelyn tried to run. Celeste didn't see who stopped her. Maybe Dante's men, maybe police, maybe the city finally turning on one of its hidden owners. She didn't care. The cage door unlocked automatically when the surge ended. Celeste ran inside. Dante lay on the metal floor, burned, bleeding, barely conscious. She dropped beside him. No, 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 stay with me. His lashes fluttered. Bossy, he murmured. A sob broke out of her. Don't flirt while dying. Still not flirting. You are absolutely flirting. His mouth moved as if he wanted to smile but didn't have the strength. Celeste pressed 2 fingers to his neck. Pulse. Weak. But there. She ripped open his shirt, checked burns, bleeding, breathing. Her nurse brain fought through the panic. Assess. Airway. Breathing. Circulation. Stop the bleeding. Keep him awake. Keep him here. Look at me, she ordered. His eyes opened halfway. You rejected me in front of everyone, he whispered. You deserved it. Yes. And if you die after making me feel things, I will reject you again in hell. That time he almost smiled. Footsteps thundered into the chamber. Dante's men, hospital security, federal agents in tactical gear. Police officers who looked terrified to be pointing guns at people wealthier than their departments. Dr. Keene was dragged in with blood on his forehead and plastic cuffs around his wrists. His eyes found Celeste. I tried to protect you, he said. Celeste looked at him from beside Dante's broken body. No, she said. You tried to own the truth. Keene's face crumpled. For 1 second, she saw the man who had brought coffee, the mentor, the liar, the coward who had built kindness over a grave. Then agents pulled him away. Evelyn Cross stood cuffed near the console, still elegant, still upright, but her face had lost its invincibility. All around her, the screens continued uploading files to servers beyond her reach. News alerts began flashing across restored phones. Federal warrants, emergency indictments, city officials detained, hospital foundation accounts frozen. The city was waking up, and it was hungry. Celeste stayed with Dante. When paramedics arrived, she refused to move until they let her ride with him. He's a criminal, one officer said. Celeste looked up at him with blood on her dress, burns on her hands, and Dante Valen's pulse under her fingers. He's my patient. No one argued. The ambulance ride through Halcyon Bay felt like traveling through the inside of a storm. Rain lashed the windows. Restored traffic lights blinked over flooded streets. People stood outside, apartment buildings staring up, as power returned floor by floor. Police cars sped past. Black SUVs followed close behind, but for once they did not look like predators. They looked like guards around a wounded king. Dante drifted in and out. Celeste kept pressure on his shoulder and watched his monitor with a focus so intense it bordered on prayer. At one point his eyes opened. "The children?" he rasped. Celeste swallowed. Her phone buzzed with a message from Nia. ICU, stable. Sophie is okay. All critical beds on power. Celeste showed him. Dante read it slowly. Then his eyes closed. Not from weakness this time. Relief. Something in Celeste broke open. She leaned close, so only he could hear. You did not pay for my mother tonight, she whispered. You saved children because it was right. His eyes opened again, barely. I don't know how to be that man. Then learn. He looked at her with a vulnerability so naked it hurt. Will you hate me while I do? Celeste's throat tightened. Yes, she whispered. Some days. His Kaza held hers. And other days? She did not answer. But she did not let go of his hand. Dawn came pale and silver over Halcyon Bay. By then, the city had learned enough to start trembling. News vans crowded outside Saint Orison. Federal agents carried boxes from the hospital foundation wing. The mayor resigned by sunrise. 3 judges vanished. Police commissioners were arrested in their driveways. Evelyn Cross's face appeared on every screen in the city, beside words like conspiracy, infrastructure, sabotage, and murder. Celeste saw none of it until much later. She spent dawn in surgery waiting rooms, wearing borrowed scrubs, her burned palms wrapped in white gauze. Rainwater dried in her hair. Blood stained the edge of her collar. Nurses tried to make her lie down. She refused. At 6:43 a.m., a surgeon came out. Dante Valen was alive. Critical, but alive. Celeste sat down for the first time in hours and cried so quietly no one noticed except Nia, who sat beside her and held her bandaged hand. "You love him?" Nia asked softly. Celeste stared at the floor. "No." Nia said nothing. Celeste closed her eyes. Maybe. That was the terrible truth. Not a soft love. Not a clean one. Not yet. What she felt was a wound becoming a door. Fear tangled with anger, grief tangled with desire, trust growing in soil that had every reason to stay barren. Dante had not earned forgiveness in one night. Men like him did not get redemption because they bled beautifully under emergency lights. But he had stayed. He had told the truth when lies would have served him better. He had chosen children over power. He had walked into lightning not to escape guilt, but to keep a promise made to a dead woman who had drawn stars on his wrist. 3 days later, Celeste visited him in the private recovery wing under federal guard. Not Mafia guard. Federal. That amused her more than it should have. Dante lay in a hospital bed near a window overlooking the rain-cleaned city. He looked wrong in white sheets. Too human, too pale. Machines monitored his heart. Bandages wrapped his shoulder, ribs, and left arm. A faint burn marked the side of his neck. But his eyes opened the moment she entered, as if he had felt her before hearing her. "Celeste," he said. Her name in his mouth was quieter now. No command. No ownership. Just recognition. She stood at the foot of his bed with a paper cup of terrible hospital coffee. "You look awful." His mouth curved faintly. "You came to flatter me." "I came because you're my patient." "Only that?" She took a slow breath. "No." His eyes held hers. The silence was full of everything they could not rush. Outside, Halcyon Bay glittered under weak morning sun. The city looked innocent from high above, but Celeste knew better now. Under every street were buried wires. Under every institution, buried names. Under every powerful man, buried choices. She walked closer. Dante watched every step, as if he had no right to expect even one. "I read my mother's files," she said. His expression changed. "She wrote about you." He looked away. Celeste stopped beside the bed. "She said you were not your father." His throat moved. "She was wrong sometimes," he said. "She also said you were the most frightening person she had ever trusted." A broken laugh left him. "That sounds like Leora." Celeste nodded, tears stinging. "She loved you." His eyes closed. For a long moment he said nothing. When he opened them again, they were bright with restrained pain. "I loved her enough to ruin her," he whispered. Celeste sat carefully on the edge of the chair beside him. "No," she said. "You loved her inside a world built to ruin anyone who chose truth. That is kinder than I deserve." "I'm not being kind. I'm being accurate." He looked at her bandaged hands. "You're hurt. They'll heal. I'm sorry. I know." "No," he said, voice rough. "Not for one thing. For all of it." Celeste leaned back, studying him. The city called him many things. Monster, king, criminal, ghost. But lying in that bed, stripped of black suits and armed men, Dante Valen looked like someone who had survived his own life and did not know what came after punishment. "I can't absolve you," she said. "I'm not asking you to. I can't become your redemption. I won't let you." "Good. But I want—" He stopped. Celeste waited. Dante Valen, feared by everyone, struggled with one honest sentence. Finally he said, "I want to become someone who can stand near you without making your mother's ghost ashamed." Celeste looked toward the window. Below, traffic moved again through wet streets. Somewhere in the pediatric ICU, Sophie was breathing without a manual bag. Somewhere, mothers were waking children for school in apartments, lit by restored power. Somewhere, federal agents were opening boxes that had been sealed for 15 years. Her mother's ghost did not feel ashamed. It felt near. Celeste reached into her pocket and pulled out the cracked wing angel pendant. The chip had been removed, but the necklace remained, damaged, empty, still hers. She placed it on Dante's bedside table. His eyes followed it. "I thought you'd never take that off," he said. "I'm not leaving it." He looked at her. "I'm leaving it here until you wake up without machines." Something fragile moved across his face. Hope, maybe. It looked painful on him. "And if I do?" he asked. Celeste stood. "Then you start by telling the truth to the prosecutors." His mouth curved slightly, demanding. "Then you help rebuild every system your family poisoned." "Expensive. Then you stay away from my hospital unless invited." His eyes warmed. "And will I be invited?" Celeste walked toward the door. Her hand rested on the frame. She looked back. The morning light touched him gently, softening the brutality of his face without erasing it. He would never be harmless. She knew that. He would never be simple. Neither would what waited between them. But not all dangerous things were lies. Some were storms. Some were men learning where to put down their weapons. "Survive first," she said. Then she left, before he could see her smile. Weeks passed. The city changed loudly. Halcyon Bay loved scandals almost as much as it loved pretending it had never been fooled. The blackout became history before the streets had fully dried. News anchors called it the Night of the Dead Grid. Documentaries were announced. Politicians promised reform. Protesters filled the hospital steps with candles and signs bearing Leora Ward's name. Celeste hated that part. Loved it too. Her mother, reduced for 15 years to a closed file and a framed photo, was now spoken of as the nurse who had saved a city from the grave. Saint Orison renamed the pediatric ICU wing after her. Celeste cried when she saw the plaque. Dante did not attend the ceremony. He watched from a black car across the street because he was not yet welcome in public without causing panic, and because Celeste had not invited him. But when the ceremony ended, a small envelope waited in Celeste's locker. No signature. Inside was a photograph she had never seen. Her mother at 28, laughing in the rain beside a younger Dante Valen, who looked impossibly boyish and almost free. On the back, in her mother's handwriting, were 6 words. "Bravery is choosing the right fear." Celeste sat on the locker room bench for a long time. Then she took out her phone. She stared at Dante's number. She had saved it under Do Not Answer. After a moment, she changed it to Dante. Then she typed one sentence. She would deny later that her hands shook. "You can come by the hospital garden at 7. No guards visible." His reply came almost instantly. "I'll be there." A second later, "Thank you." The hospital garden was on the 4th-floor roof, hidden between recovery wings. At night, it smelled of wet stone, lavender, and city rain. Patients came there to remember the world existed beyond IV poles and waiting rooms. Celeste arrived 5 minutes early and found Dante already there. Of course. He stood near the railing in a black coat, thinner than before, still pale but upright, no visible guards. Though Celeste suspected at least 6 watched from surrounding rooftops, trying very hard not to be visible. "You're early," she said. "So are you." "I work here." I was nervous. She looked at him. The confession sat between them, startling in its simplicity. Dante Valen, nervous. The city would never believe it. Celeste walked to the railing. Below, Halcyon Bay shimmered with restored lights. Bridges glowed gold over black water. Traffic moved in red and white streams. Windows burned warm in apartment towers. The city looked alive because people had fought in darkness for it. Dante stood beside her, not too close. She noticed that. "Are you cooperating?" she asked. "Yes." "With everything?" "Yes." "Even when it hurts you?" "Especially then." She nodded. Silence settled. Not empty. "Careful." After a while, Dante said, "I went to her grave." Celeste's fingers tightened around the railing. "I told her the truth should have come sooner." "What else?" He looked at the city. "That you are braver than both of us." Celeste swallowed. Wind moved through her hair. "I don't know what this is," she said. Dante did not ask what this meant. He knew. "I do," he said. She looked at him. His eyes were dark and steady, but there was no command in them now. No trap, no demand for her to step closer before she was ready. "What is it?" she asked. "A beginning I don't deserve." Her heart ached. "That sounds dramatic. I've been near death. It affects the vocabulary." Despite herself, she smiled. Dante saw it. The effect on him was immediate and devastating. His face softened like sunrise touching a locked room. Celeste looked away before it pulled her in too quickly. "You still scare me," she said. "I know." Not because of what people say. What scares you? She took a breath. That I saw the worst parts of you and still came here. Dante's hand tightened on the railing. He did not look victorious. He looked humbled. Celeste. No. She turned to him fully. Listen to me. I am not my mother. You are not 19. We are not finishing a story that died 15 years ago. I know. If there is anything here, anything at all, it starts with truth. All of it. Ugly. Legal. Personal. No protection that looks like control. No secrets dressed up as safety. Yes. And if I tell you to leave, you leave. His voice was low. Always. She searched his face. Can you even do that? He answered without hesitation. For you I can learn. Celeste hated that her eyes burned again. Dante slowly lifted his hand, stopping halfway between them. An echo of the gala. The hand she had slapped away in front of everyone. This time, he did not reach all the way. He waited. The choice was hers. Celeste looked at his hand, at the scars, at the bandage still hidden beneath his cuff, at the man who had once represented every danger in her city and now stood under hospital garden lights, asking silently for permission. She placed her hand in his. Not as surrender, not as forgiveness. As a beginning, Dante closed his fingers carefully around hers, as if holding something sacred and breakable. Below them, Halcyon Bay glowed. Above them, the clouds opened just enough for one star to appear over the hospital roof. Celeste thought of her mother drawing stars on wrists, choosing the right fear. She looked at Dante. He looked back as if the whole city had disappeared again, but this time, no darkness followed. Only light. And somewhere inside Saint Orison, monitors kept steady rhythm, children slept safely, and the city that had lost power remembered how to breathe.